What were the items?
I did not say what are they, right? I said, are they alive and how do you know? So, let's talk about it. How would you know?
Didn't you ask us to hypothesize what their identity might be?
Some of you did hypothesize what the identity is in order to help you decide whether or not it was alive. But does that actually help us determine if something is alive?
No.
That just tells us we know what it is, right? How do we know? Like, what does it mean to be alive? Like, ooh, it's alive. Oh, Halloween's coming.
They reproduce.
Okay, so we said living things can reproduce.
They breathe. They respirate in some way.
We said respire. My eye is bad. Respiration, where does that occur? In humans, we know where it occurs. In mammals, right?
In lungs or gills.
All right, so we say lungs or gills if it's an animal. What if it's not an animal? What if it's like a plant?
Leaves.
Okay. What if it's bacteria?
Their skin. Then, like the outer shell.
So what is, let's make sure we all define respiration. What is respiration? What does it mean to respire?
To breathe in some way.
Okay. We tend to think breathing means taking in of oxygen and releasing of carbon dioxide, right? Do all things respire in that way?
No.
Okay. So it's some kind of, you know it?
Well, wait, it's not like a human or an animal that can't breathe, so plants have to do it through photosynthesis.
Okay. So plants will do it through photosynthesis.
Fish do it through their gills.
Fish can do it through gills. It's okay to not necessarily know, because there's some of the things in that great old big old like world of life we haven't necessarily learned all the ins and outs of. But some of you, was it this class? Some people were bickering in one of my 3 classes. I don't think it was this table? Yeah. What did you say?
They were saying that the seeds are alive, but I said they're alive, just dormant.
Alive but dormant. Seeds were alive. Because a seed is what?
It's kind of like a human fetus, in which it's like still developing.
Still developing, or it's arrested in the stage of development, right? What are all living things made out of? You can all say it together. Someone told you that once? This is one of those moments I will tell you, they did not lie to you. So respiration is going to be this process of typically what we consider gas exchange that it goes on in a cellular level. So it's at a cellular level. And I have to say gas exchange because some things, when they do it, they're not going to start with oxygen. They're going to start with something else. So it's some kind of gas or chemical exchange because truthfully, what we're really looking for is not necessarily respiration, but we are looking, well, I'll let you see if we can I'll let you elaborate on that. What else? We'll come back to it when we get there. So they're going to reproduce, they're going to somehow respire.
They will respond to stimuli.
So respond to stimuli, is that why it's like do not tap on glass when you go to the zoo? Is that what we're talking about? Like I should not like go about the woods poking things? What do you think? Good plan or bad plan? Walk through the woods poking stuff? If I poke it and it responds, it's alive. Is that what we're saying here? What if I poked a tree? Walking through the woods, minding my own business, carrying a big old stick, come upon a tree. I'm like, what's it going to do?
Nothing.
Nothing? How many of you are like, it is accurate, the tree will do nothing? How many of you are like, if the tree does something, run? Now I'm picturing like the headless horseman tree, the one that like bleeds and all that. Particularly creepy because I live in a street called Sleepy Hollow. And I have woods in my front yard. How many of you are daring me on Halloween to go out and poke a tree? I'll go poke a tree for you. I have a feeling I know what's going to happen. But are trees alive?
Yes.
But I thought it's not going to respond to stimuli. I poked it.
When there's wind, doesn't the tree move when there's wind? And that sometimes makes it.
Okay, so it moves when it's windy.
It'll catch sunlight with its leaves.
So sunlight's a stimuli? What kind of response does it have to that sunlight?
It grows towards the sunlight.
Phototropism. Oh, vocabulary. How many of you are like, yes, trees can grow towards sunlight? Do all trees grow towards sunlight? Only certain kinds of trees. But it's true, they respond. My neighbor, oh you guys, over the course of a semester you learn a lot about my neighbor Dwayne. Good morning. My neighbor Dwayne, God love him. Dwayne and I don't necessarily see eye to eye on everything. I want a tree out of my front woods, I get a chainsaw, right? Will that tree respond to the stimuli of a chainsaw?
Yes.
You betcha, it's a lot of fun. Dwayne's response, apparently, according to Dwayne, it costs too much money to have a tree cut down in his yard. It is true, if you don't own a chainsaw and you want a professional to come in and remove that tree, it's going to cost you some pretty good money. And Dwayne has a pool in his yard that he does not like having a particular tree next to because it's cottonwood trees that makes all those cottonwood fuzzies. But of course it makes those cottonwood fuzzies in like mid-June. You guys know what I'm talking about, like these little puff balls. So you open your pool, it makes the cottonwood fuzzies in the pool, and then it clogs your pool filter and burns out the motor on the filter. Here is Dwayne's response. He has drilled holes into the side of his tree, and he pours salt into the holes. What is Dwayne trying to do? You guys are like, you live next door to this guy? I do.
It's trying to kill the tree.
Why would that kill the tree?
Because the moisture in the tree, the salt sort of like soaks up the moisture and makes it dry.
Is that the tree's response to external stimuli? It's responding to its environment, right? I poke a tree, it's not going to do anything. I drill holes in it and pour salt in, it's going to respond. Not in a positive, growing sort of way, But we get it. Things respond to their environment, even if it's not obvious. Just so we're all clear, I do not recommend this as the tree killing mechanism that you use if you no longer want a tree in your yard. Chainsaw. That's the one I recommend. Chainsaw. With the appropriate safety equipment, friends. Chainsaw chaps, gloves, and protective eyewear, right? Yeah? Nobody wants to nick a femoral artery with a chainsaw. You guys know what your femoral artery is?
Something vital.
It is something vital. You know what your femur is? So, your femoral artery is the one that runs down the length of your femur. The major blood supply that takes blood from your heart. It's a really great way to bleed out. It's going to respond to stimuli and environment. Let's go back to Dwayne's tree. I'll draw it for you. There's Dwayne's pool. There's Dwayne's pool chairs. There's Dwayne's cottonwood tree that I only actually accurately drew one leaf for. We don't have all the time in the world, right? There's the little cottonwood fuzzies that look like snowflakes. It always kind of does, right? When the cottonwoods make fuzzies all over the ground. You're like, oh, it looks like it snowed. And you're like, oh, but snow doesn't make me sneeze. Okay. Here's neighbor Dwayne. There's neighbor Dwayne's drill. And his little container of salt. What is the tree doing when it responds to neighbor? Oh, poor neighbor Dwayne. There's his sunglasses. He's usually smiling. And neighbor Dwayne's little dog, Sassy. Yeah, that's the dog's name. Sassy. It's not peculiar when his wife stands at the back door and yells for Sassy. It's slightly peculiar when Dwayne's like, Sassy, at the back door. There's neighbor Dwayne. What's the tree doing? Why does it do what it does? When it responds to its environment, what is it trying? More specifically, what is it trying to not do? Yeah, it's trying to not die. How? How does it try to not die?
Well, it needs oxygen, water, and carbon dioxide to live, so when it runs out of one of those, it immediately tries to overthrow photosynthesis.
What is the tree doing when he drills in, pours the salt? Take a moment to discuss it with your partner at your table. What's the tree doing?
If it's not able to, it will die.
So you're telling me it needs what? Oxygen,
Water, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide.
How many of you guys agree plants need oxygen, water, carbon dioxide? You're like, yes, this is accurate. They need those things. Anything else it needs? Needs some sunlight. So if you are a tree, these are like the basic things of life. So you have a need for energy. That's what you say sunlight is, right? Sunlight's energy. All living things have a need for energy. Wow, apparently which is now spelled with 2 E's. Eraser. So all living things need energy. And all living things have some kind of need for chemical intake, right? Like there's got to be some kind of intake of stuff from the environment, some chemicals. You might call these food because they have a commitment for metabolism, right? Some kind of need. So the tree needs oxygen, it needs water, it needs carbon dioxide, it's going to need energy, it needs to take in chemicals because it's going to commit to metabolism. So what is the tree doing? We'll go back to my lovely drawing of Dwayne and Sassy and his drill. Oops. What did you guys decide? What's the tree doing? You discussed it with your group mates, right?
It's trying to get more oxygen, like water and carbon dioxide and sunlight, so it can adapt to what's happening to it and fix itself.
Ooh. There's the key words of that sentence. Now I'll give you another example besides my tree that's trying to fix itself. I could get not any of you. There are certain personalities in here who are more inclined to do something if I say, I dare you. So if I were to say something along the lines of like, I dare you to, I don't know, eat 5 tablespoons of salt. Some of you are like, it's a terrible dare. I would never do that. And some of you are like, yeah, I could do it. All right, if you did it, what would happen?
You'd be really thirsty.
You'd be really thirsty. What if I said, I dare you to, drink a gallon of milk in under an hour? What would you do?
You get overhydrated.
What's your body's response to that much milk in under an hour?
You'd get sick.
You get sick. You're a Hurlosaurus Rex. Milk vomit, right? How many of you are like, ew, first thing in the morning? Technicolor vomit, right? What's your body doing that for? What's it trying to do?
Because you drink so much, so your stomach can't take that much liquid.
Stomach can't take that much liquid.
It's trying to fix itself.
You're a living thing, right?
Yeah.
And like your body is like, whoa, bad idea. Bad idea. So its response is something that none of us like doing. There's not a single person on the planet who's like, yes, vomiting, totally love it. Right? We all kind of think it's horrible. And it is kind of horrible, but it's our body's way of trying to purge itself of something that it was like, That process of trying to fix oneself, whether it be by drinking more water, right? If you ate all that salt, you'd want lots and lots and lots and lots of water. By making you thirsty, or making you vomit. Or how about this? I turn the temperature way up on this room. What's your body going to do?
Sweat.
You're going to sweat. I turn it down to what's actually a comfortable and survivable temperature. And you guys are going to do what? Shiver. That process of fixing oneself, all living things do it, and it has a fancy, fancy name. It's called homeostasis. Homeostasis means to maintain an a stable internal environment. To maintain a stable internal environment. And we all kind of automatically understand it because we know our body automatically does it. Eat a lot of salt, your fingers swell up, you require a lot of water. Consume something that could make you, if metabolized may poison you, your body vomits it out. Get sick, your body will get a fever. These are all responses to the environment, negative environmental cues that make your body try and maintain an internal stable environment. So homeostasis, all living things do it. So let's see if we can recap. All living things reproduce. All living things require some kind of chemical need from the environment, and it's going to exchange those things from the environment. All living things respond to the environment in some way. All living things attempt to maintain homeostasis. There's one that I don't know, it's kind of an abstract idea. But all living things, we haven't said yet, all living things are going to obey the laws of chemistry and physics. Now what this means is, even though we're in the biology classroom, we are going to have to understand some laws of chemistry and some laws of physics, because anything that is alive must obey those laws. So the laws of thermodynamics, what are those? Laws of thermodynamics. You know them. Just somebody might not have called them that yet.
Is it like boiling point and all that?
Those are our chemistry laws for sure. We're going to follow all those.
Doesn't that have to do with flying, or?
Thermo. What's thermo make you think of? Heat, right? You hear thermo, you think heat? So, thermodynamics are the laws of energy. How about energy cannot be created nor destroyed? You heard that one? Every living thing is going to follow that first law of thermodynamics. Energy can't be created or destroyed. Every living thing is going to obey the second law of thermodynamics. It's a crazy fancy one. Entropy is on the rise. So if anybody's ever told you there's increasing disorder, all living things obey that. Laws of chemistry. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed. Heard that one? So matter can't be. Energy can't be. How about atoms? Atoms are conserved in a chemical reaction. It's the law of conservation of matter, mass. Those are all things every living thing must obey. So all laws of chemistry and physics. And my back group, when you said fix, there was a particular word you used that I purposely skipped over. You said it was trying to, in response, when it was trying to fix itself, you used a word with an A. Do you remember that word? Adapt. What does it mean, or what is the biology term for adapting to one's environment?
If the environment changes, you have to change with it.
So adapting, if there's a change in the environment, you better change too, right? And on the short term, that's simply just responding to environmental stimuli. Do you agree? But what happens if I do that over generations, rather than like in my lifetime, say over entire generations? What do we call that? Evolve. Living things evolve. Those are characteristics of life. Hey, why did we start with characteristics of life?
So if we start with the foundation of characteristics of life, we can build off of that.
What is this class? What is biology? You told me in your do now 2 days ago. Study of living things. Ideally, perfectly wonderful. You know what that means? Now, if it fits in any of those categories, we study it. And if it doesn't, we just make one of those other teachers down the hall talk about it because it's not mine. Not my problem. Okay, we're going to do a little unit on chemistry, which is like kind of, sort of, almost my problem. But if it fits in these categories, then we study it. So friends, how will I know if these things fit in these categories? What am I going to do? How do you determine if these things fit in any of that stuff?
Conduct an experiment.
Conduct an experiment. Why would I conduct an experiment? What is biology again? But it must be done in a methodical way, right? Like, you can't just be like, oh, I have encountered this thing outdoors, I will study this one, but not another thing. I will make an observation about this. Because, let's think about this. Those rules, respond to the environment. So I have a plate of Jell-O and I poke it and it wiggles. It responded to its environment, right? Is it alive? But it responded to its environment.
That can fit all the criteria of life.
I squish it and it changes shape. It adapted, right? No? You're like, no, that's just response to its environment. You just squished it. I heat it up and it melts. That was following law of chemistry, right? Leave it at room temperature, you don't have Jell-O, you have a puddle. Yeah. I can't create it or destroy it. It's Jell-O, it exists. It still followed a law of chemistry. And physics, the physics of Jell-O. That could be pretty awesome. It could be pretty messy, but it could be a lot of fun. Oh, does Jell-O respire? Does it have any need for metabolism, taking in chemicals from the environment? No, okay, so I can't study it. So what I do has to be, stop hitting that button with my hand fat. Has to be methodical, and I dare say, wait for it, my study of living things must be scientific. Take a moment to define what that means with your partner. What does it mean to be? Your list, you have told me scientific. To be scientific, it must involve the scientific method. Agree or disagree? Raise your hand for agree. Okay. Raise your hand for disagree. Okay. Can be proven. I'm going to quibble with that one just slightly, ever so slightly. As a scientist, I put a little prefix in front of proven. As a scientist, I am not attempting to prove anything. As a scientist, I am attempting to do, actually, the opposite. We try to disprove things. So when we do any research or any experimentation, we are not trying to prove something, we are trying to support it. We support things, or we disprove or refute them. We support or refute. We don't prove. If we say the word prove, we end up in kind of a sticky situation here. If we say we've proven something, and then eventually we find research that disagrees with what we thought we proved, we look kind of silly at the end, don't we? So instead, we like to protect ourselves and say, "Oh no, we haven't proven anything. We have merely supported it." And then if we do find evidence to the contrary, we can revise what we originally thought. Makes scientists sound like they're not willing to commit to things. Is that true? We're not willing to commit. It's actually, in a way, it's kind of true. We're like, you know what? We have evidence that suggests, we have evidence that supports, but I'm not willing to say, yeah, absolutely. Why not? Can you think of anything that we would have in the past ended up looking sort of silly about? Anything that scientists would like regret having said?
Pluto is a planet.
It is.
Yeah, this whole Pluto thing, right? We've been flip-flopping on that one, back and forth and back and forth and back. Pluto's a planet. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I don't even know whether it is or not anymore.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat. Did we have a whole bunch of evidence that suggested the Earth was flat for a while?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Based on our observations, not our observations, the observations of our ancestors, right? The best of their knowledge, the place would have been flat. And then one day we were like, well, that doesn't make sense. Somebody thought a little harder about it, a little bit of geometry. Ugh, you mean I gotta do math? That's heinous. Math in science?
The sun revolves around the earth.
Yeah, that whole geocentrism, heliocentrism thing, right? We'd have looked pretty silly.